Beginning all the way back in the late 1990s in southern London, the genre of electronic music called dubstep has made a big splash in modern culture. With its signature drum and bass style and the revolutionary wobble bass, we've all been hit in the face with a massive and sudden wave of sound that seems like noise and jargon to some, but to others is an extremely satisfying and energetic genre. One of the biggest aspects of dubstep is that it's almost a necessity to play it loudly. Very loudly. This, along with a video I saw long ago and was only just reminded of called Dubstep Guns, got some of us thinking about dubstep's ridiculous volume. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen Dubstep Guns, here's a small taste. Anyway, today on Stuff You Probably Wondered, we're going to crank it up to a number that's way higher than 11 as we examine if it's possible to die by dubstep. So let's get to it. The first thing to understand about music, and even sound in general, is how it's measured in terms of volume. The base unit of sound is called the decibel, named in honor of Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone. Originally, the decibel was used to determine how much sound was lost as a call traveled from one person to another. Early telephones hooked up to operating boards gradually lost energy the further the two callers were from each other, and that was mostly due to the fact that the electrons in the wires experienced resistance, or ohms, as they traveled down the circuit, so the call would be weaker as distance increased. Originally, the measurement of this power was called miles of standard cable, or MSC. Later on, the Bell Telephone Laboratories refined this unit of measure and it became the transmission unit, or TU. The TU was defined as 10 times a single unit of power compared to another unit of power used as a reference point. Seems pretty confusing, but this was an impressively useful unit of measure for the telephone companies, and in 1928 the TU was renamed to the decibel in reference to Bell and the base 10 system that it's based on. The decibel isn't recognized by the International System of Units, which encompasses everything in the metric system and just about every other possible measurement you can think of. However, the decibel is still important to other systems, and is a common factor in sound engineering. Because the margin between decibels is a fraction of a change in amplitude, which is the distance between two peaks of a sound wave, the amount of sound you can hear can vary quite a bit. For example, the quietest sound an average person can hear is 25 decibels, while the average sound that is of an average volume is somewhere around 50 to 60 decibels. Now, to bring it all back to dubstep, is there a way for extremely loud music to properly kill you, sort of like the Dubstep Guns video? Well, to do that, we'll have to exceed past the barriers of regular sound and get loud. Because decibels measure both intensity and pressure, there comes a point where sound can become physically painful, and this occurs at the 120 to 130 decibel mark. At 140 decibels, you can experience permanent hearing loss, and this can happen if you do something like get too close to a jet taking off. At 180 decibels, the tissue that helps you detect sound dies instantly, and at 195 decibels, the absolute maximum for sound, a shockwave occurs, and the air is actually distorted and thrust outward when the limit is hit. Of course, none of these points on our audio thermometer mention any actual death, so how can we kill someone with just noise alone? Well, the answer gets screwed up a little when we bring hertz into the mix. Hertz levels are all about pitch, so the higher a sound is, the higher the hertz. Like decibels, humans can only hear a certain range, that being 20 to 20,000 hertz. By comparison, some dogs can hear up to 60,000. As it turns out, higher frequencies, or more hertz, are more damaging to the ears than lower frequencies. Case in point, sounds like babies' cries and nails on a chalkboard are much more upsetting than lower noises. So if we wanted to murder a person with just sound, wouldn't we need higher sounds at a louder level? Well, not necessarily. It has been proven that enough sound can actually cause hypertension because the vibrations can cause the lungs and blood vessels to collapse. All that we would really need would be a powerful enough set of speakers that can blast sound outward with the unsuspecting victim in just the right place. One of the biggest sets of speakers in the world is at the European Space Agency's headquarters in the Netherlands. A set of 4 massive speakers placed below the launch pad, which holds the ESA's rockets, blasts out about 154 decibels of sound. These speakers aren't used for dance parties, however. The 10 to 160 Hz frequency cushions the rocket's exhaust as it tries to escape the Earth's gravity, allowing a much safer liftoff. But if we were to somehow harness these enormous speakers to a handheld position, find the right frequency and volume, and shoot pure sound at some poor soul, then it's possible they would die right then and there. So can you kill someone with dubstep? Despite a large amount of circumstances being just right, it can actually be possible. However, we've learned that higher pitches are much better at eliminating someone's life, let alone their hearing. But perhaps that's why dubstep is so appealing. Its low frequencies allow for louder sounds, which can in turn seem more tolerable. It may not be for everyone, but this genre of music is still fascinating in its own wubby way. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have any questions you want me to answer, or have an original song you want me to put in the background of a future video, leave it in the comments or email me at stuffyou'vebrobablywondered@gmail.com. Also in the comments, tell me, what would you do if you could hear any sound and not get damaged from it? What do you think the highest pitch something could make is? Either way, I'll see you next time on Stuff You Probably Wondered.